The government was supposed to help Christian Glass, but they didn't help Christian Glass. They killed Christian Glass.
A deadly threat is a deadly threat, regardless of what someone has going on.
The jury is now deliberating in the second trial of a former deputy in Clear Creek County. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
I'm Tom Green. Andrew Buen facing charges again, accused of shooting and killing Christian Glass after he had called for help in June of 2022. 9 News reporter Steve Stager has been following this case from the very outset. And it's been 3 years now, Steve, and we are again with another jury going to decide the fate of Andrew Buen.
Here we are again, Tom and Kim. The case now in the hands of a jury of 7 men and 5 women, and the prosecution's hoping that they will be able to do what the last jury in this case could not do, reach a unanimous decision on the murder charges in this case. The prosecution's closing argument focused on the fact that Christian Glass called 911 for help the night that that night, and Buen, the responding officer, shot and killed him. They called Buen the primary aggressor of this encounter since he broke the window of Glass's SUV, shot him with beanbag rounds, tased him, and then shot and killed him. Prosecutors argue that Glass was simply defending himself from excessive force when he swung a knife near the window of his car where another officer was standing.
Don't fail Christian again. Go back in the back, look at all the evidence. Argue about it if you have to. Look at it again if you have to. But when you're done, apply the law to the facts of the case and find the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of second-degree murder.
Now, Buen's defense team focused a lot on the final seconds of this case. They say that that's where jury's eyes should be, the moments right before the gunshot when they say that Deputy Buen saw Christian Glass move a knife in the direction near an officer standing near the side of his car. He saw that as a threat, and they argue that his use of deadly force was justified in that moment because of the threat to a fellow officer. And they say that all the experts in this case are simply Monday morning quarterbacking.
Ladies and gentlemen, he wishes every day he would have had him throw those weapons out. Of course he does. Of course. You've heard testimony. That's appropriate not to have people reach for weapons. Of course he wishes it would have gone differently. But again, that's hindsight. And the law tells us we have to put that aside.
So again, they're focused on hindsight. The jury got this case about 3:30 this afternoon, just about a half an hour ago. We are told they will deliberate until 5 o'clock when the judge says it's time to go home. If they haven't reached a decision by then, which we don't expect because there's a lot of evidence in this case, they'll come back here tomorrow morning around 8:30. We're live in Georgetown. Steve Stager, 9 News.
Steve, this case is so emotional for so many. It's so controversial, and the first trial brought out even more emotion and more controversy as well. This jury is really, whether they know it or not, in quite a crucible. There's a lot of pressure on them.
There's a ton of pressure, Tom, and we heard a lot about what happened in the jury room the last time, the jury foreman coming forward and speaking about one single juror who refused to convict a police officer in this case. We do know that both the prosecution and defense worked with the judge in this case to kind of solidify how they select a jury, the questions they ask in voir dire. But the jury has an incredibly important role. It'll be interesting to see how long they deliberate in this case. It'll be interesting to see if they take the time to watch the body camera video in this case again. Stephen Potts, the prosecutor, in his closing argument was telling them, you can do that. You can watch this video again. They've already watched the view of this scene from 3 different officers' body cameras through the course of this trial. And it really is, as you've said before, Tom, the star witness in this case is the video. We'll see if the jury asks to see it at some point during their deliberations.
Yeah. You can always tell a little bit about what they do, but you never really know until the very end. And this last time around was certainly a surprise and a disappointment for really both sides. Nobody wants to try a case again.
Yeah, any attorney you talk to will say it is a bad idea to try to read a jury because a jury will always surprise you. There are all sorts of theories about how long deliberations take, what that might mean. Any experienced attorney will tell you, you never know what a jury is going to do. That was the case last time. We'll see what happens this time.
All right, Steve Steger, thanks for joining us from Clear Creek County, and I know you'll continue to follow this case as you have from the outset.
By this time tomorrow, we could be seeing snow again. Yippee. Okay, just as we get through the extreme cold, today we hit a new record low at DIA, -7. The sun did help us bounce back big time into the 20s this afternoon, Tom.
Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, if 20 degrees feels great, it's today, right, Kathy?
That's right. You know it's been cold when you're excited about 20 degrees. We should be in the mid-40s this time of year, but I'll do you one better. We will be in the mid-60s by the time we hit Sunday, possibly even Monday. So something to look forward to. Tonight, the drive home, no issues. I-70 looks great. You want to get into that 35 to 45 inches of powder, go for it. The mountains will be looking at another round of snow starting tomorrow, and this time tomorrow night, Denver could be seeing snow. We started this morning at -7. These are the morning low temperatures. That -7 breaks the old record, shatters the old record of -4. And we look at the current readings out there right now. We're in the teens, upper teens, so warmer than we've been in several days, certainly. Wind chill isn't a big factor yet, but will be across eastern Colorado. And that's where advisories for extreme cold continue until 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're tracking the next system approaching from the northwest, a fast mover rolling in tomorrow night and rolling out Friday morning. But we could be looking at a quick 1 to 3 inches of snow in Denver and 3 to 6 inches of snow in the foothills. So we got one more little hurdle to get over before we can exhale, relax, and enjoy the thawing, the melting, and the warming trend. Initial snow model forecasting showing about 1.5 inches at DIA, 2.5 in Aurora, Bennett, 3 in Parker, Kiowa, and up to 4 in Castle Rock. Temperatures trending relatively comfortable over the next few hours, and weather headlines include another round of mountain snow starting tomorrow, another round of metro snow tomorrow night, but warmer weather for the weekend. I'll have the timing and impact of all of it just ahead.
Developing this afternoon, 2 people were killed when 2 small planes collided in Arizona. It happened this morning at Arizona's Marina Airport, just about 20 miles northwest of Tucson. Investigators are trying to determine what led up to that midair crash. The airport does not have a traffic control tower and operates as an uncontrolled field.
One person does remain in the hospital tonight after that plane crash this week in Toronto, and the wreckage of the Delta flight is now being removed from the tarmac. Officials say they've already taken the black boxes. They're also analyzing the runway itself. One of the key issues that investigators are going to be looking at is why the wing ripped off the plane, which is what sent the aircraft tumbling. Of course, one of the key pieces of evidence is the video that many have seen that was taken from the cockpit of another plane. It showed the landing, the crash as it happened. We also learned yesterday one man on board from Colorado, Peter Kukov, was heading up north to film pro skiing content for a magazine. And he said before the crash there were no warnings that anything was wrong. Kukov hopes to be reunited with his belongings soon, partly because one of them is his passport. It's still on the plane. He says initially he did buy a one-way ticket and had planned to stay in Canada for a couple weeks, so he won't need it anytime soon. Eventually, though, he says he will need it to get back home to Colorado. The Italian Premier, Giorgia Meloni, visited Pope Francis in the hospital today, reporting that he was alert and full of good humor.
He's being treated for double pneumonia and a complicated bronchial infection. NBC has more from the Vatican.
Early on Wednesday, the Vatican said the Pope had a restful night. He woke up, had breakfast, and then even managed to get off his hospital bed and sit in an armchair, which is very good and reassuring news, especially after the concern raised by the latest statement by the Vatican on Tuesday evening, in which it said doctors diagnosed him with bilateral pneumonia. Now, pair that with the previous diagnosis on Monday, which was of polymicrobial infection, meaning that he's affected by 2 or more pathogens, and that shows you how much more difficult the treatment and the recovery is compared to the initial estimate. But the Vatican said the Pope is in good spirits, he's in a good mood. He spends his days eating, resting, reading texts, and also another sign that he's responding to treatment comes from the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, who said on Wednesday that she went to visit him in hospital, said that she found him alert, responsive, and she also said that he still has his famous sense of humor. Claudio Lavanga, NBC News at the Vatican.
When Denver's NWSL team was announced, one thing was missing, a name. And now the club is looking for your help to decide what the name should be. The club released a short list of 6 possible names: Denver FC, Denver Peak FC, Denver Elevate FC, Denver Gold FC. We had a Denver Gold at one point. Colorado Summit FC and Colorado 14ers FC. On the team's website, there's an online fan vote where you can rank these 6 names in order from most to least favorite. And then you can also write in a different suggestion and pick whether the name represents Denver or Colorado, because that's another thing people want to think about. We've got a link to that on our page on 9news.com.
Don't you think some people wonder what FC means because they got it in everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's football club.
Yeah, I think so too. But I had to think too beforehand when I thought, what does that mean?
They're all going to end in FC, so you're going to get that. I would say it's interesting that you have Denver and you have Colorado. And from a marketing standpoint, they always say you go with Colorado, the broader base as far as. But the names, Denver FC, best with me, Colorado 14ers, they're all good. They're all fine.
Yeah, Elevate. Yeah.
That
sounds a little bit like one I already know of a club team. So anyway, just the fans will decide. We know one thing, whatever the name is, the NWLS team can be rest assured because there is an appetite for soccer in Colorado at all times.
Yeah, it was not packed, but some fans did show their devotion last night to the Rapids as they braved the bone-chilling temperatures to watch their first match of the season.
We're prepared. She's the only sport she likes, so she's willing to brave it for this. She said anything else, she wouldn't be out here for it. So this is our second year with season tickets, so we're excited.
In total, there are about 1,800 announced as the attendance for the Rapids CONCACAF Champions Cup game against LAFC. Braving the cold proved to be worth it as the Rapids did extract a 2-1 win in those 0 and sub-zero temperatures.
I did see one guy say, I thought they played indoors.
Yes, well.
I was like, dude.
I want to do your research.
A little research helps. The NBA's All-Star break is ending, and the Nuggets get back to playing games on Friday night when they host Charlotte.
And when they do resume play, their best player will play his first game as a 30-year-old. The Nugget Choir at practice today congratulating Nikola on his 30th birthday. The team had reassembled after the break to get ready to go back to action and maybe to try to cheer up their 3-time MVP superstar on his birthday.
I really don't want to think about it because it makes me feel sad. I'm getting older. I'm not young anymore.
So we all are.
You definitely are. You guys are dinosaurs.
He's
Well,
right. We're dinosaurs.
30, you know, he's got quite a birthday. You know who else has a birthday today?
No, you looked that up.
Well, Copernicus was one of them, the guy who
Okay.
figured out that we revolve around the sun back in the 16th century.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
That's important. That's a good guy.
Lee Marvin, great old actor. Smokey Robinson,
Oh,
Chappell Roan.
geez.
Yeah, it's not a bad
Not
thing.
a bad day.
Now, the year 1995, it turns out that was a very good year when it comes to Colorado sports. In addition to the Joker, Michaela Schifrin and Nathan McKinnon also are going to be turning 30 this year. Michaela's birthday is less than a month away. Hers is March 13th. Nathan will hit 30 on September 1st. He's a little busy tonight.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, tomorrow night, I mean.
Yeah, tomorrow night he's playing in the All Nation. What, they should do a joint party. Would that be fun?
All 3 of them?
Yes.
Who could afford that?
All 3?
Yeah, that's
That's it. They'd have a good party. All right.